So everybody's like, Breezy, you was right. It was a light-skinned girl vibe, because what happened was when I see my vision, it's two girls. They have on blue t-shirts. And one is light-skinned, high yellow, with two braids in her head. And she looks at me, and it's a little girl. She's not as light as her, but she was in the like, she's like my complexion. So she turns her head. So I'm like, they was demonic though.
This is Kada Scott's aunt, a woman many people say has a gift. Days before the world learned what happened, she claimed she saw it. A vision, a warning, a presence trying to speak through her.
So when that call said help, she was letting me know I was close.
At the time, no one knew what these visions meant. No one understood the message. But soon, a name would surface.
Gabby is best friends with Keon. Keon is the perk. Gabby is best friends with him. So everybody's like, Breezy, you was right. It was a light-skinned girl vibe, because what happened was when I see my vision, it's two girls. They have on blue t-shirts. And one is light-skinned, high yellow, with two braids in her head. And she looks at me, and it's a little girl. She's not as light as her, but she was in the like, she's like my complexion. So she turns her head. So I'm like, they was demonic though. So I'm like, why is they looking at me like this? But this is the vision, like right here. So I've been saying this a long time as well. And then next thing you know, Gabby comes up. Now, Gabby is the girl that they went down Southwest Philadelphia to the house because of Kada phone pinged in the park. Once it pinged in the park, it pinged to Southwest Philadelphia. So the house that they pinged it to was where Gabriella was at. So Gabriella said she didn't know Kada. Then she lied and said she did know Kada because she was getting pressured. So next thing you know, the phone was pinged back. Oh, Lord just came. She was pinged back. Thank you, Spirit. I love you, Spirit. I swear I love my tribe and my ancestors for what they do. All right. So that was a moment. So whatever the case is, she was pinged back to the phone in the area of Ada Lewis School. It was pinged back to Ada Lewis School based upon that's where they originally was at when she showed me that she was there. So when that call said help, she was letting me know I was close. She was letting me know, like, you here, Breezy, Aunt Breezy, whatever I say. All right, baby, I'm sorry. She was like, it was like she was here. So next thing you know, after that happened, everybody was like, we need to go to the, certain places. So as I'm watching the news, I'm like, wait, white van. I'm like, that go the white truck I was talking about. His car, the gray car was sitting across the street. Truck. Somebody found his Instagram, same car before it got crashed up. So we know it's him. Moving along, not to bounce all over the place. So Gabby is best friends with him. Now, it was a little girl on TikTok that everybody worked to my attention when she was talking about him and how she knew him. Now, her best friend is the girl who gave me the info. And she lied to me because she didn't know. She told me she didn't know him before. But apparently the girl was on there talking about Kada, how she walks her dog and, things like that. And they, all above. So that's stalker. That's a stalker. I said, she was jealous. I said, she was having Keon. I said, and she knew what Keon was about to do to Kada because Keon asked her, because Keon asked her, where do Kada live at? Where does she work at? And all the above. Now, he knew Kada already. It's not a mystery he didn't know Kada. He definitely knows Kada. I want y'all to understand, it was never that he was a stranger to Kada. He knew Kada. He knew who Kada was as a person. Kada knew him as a person. But it was not supposed to go to this level because Kada was not in a relationship with him. She was in a relationship with somebody else. Please, you was not getting up here. She was in a relationship with somebody else. So with that being said, as she was in a relationship with somebody else, let me give you the downloads because I don't want to be all over the place. In my downloads, that's what they do. All right, so earlier we was talking about it. The girl that gave me the jewels, she told her best friend that was talking about Kada on live, she needs to call the police and tell the police what she knows. The girl was like, I'm not telling anybody anything. So apparently the girl said that Keon told Gabby that what he did with Kada, and don't tell nobody where Kada was. Me asking about where Kada at and where she live at and where she work at, because Kim didn't play that. Nobody knowing where she lived at, so that's how I know for a fact he didn't know where she lived at. So the girl told, and Gabby promised not to say nothing about what he did to Kada. So Gabby goes to school in Maryland. So the girl was talking about that. Y'all had to go see her live TikTok. Some people saved it. I don't know. Hey.
When Bree spoke, she didn't speak in certainty. She spoke in feeling, in fear, in instinct. She wasn't pointing fingers. She wasn't naming guilt. She was simply trying to understand what her spirit was telling her, while praying anyone would listen, because by this point, Kada was gone. No calls, no messages, only silence. And in silence, the mind begins to fill in the darkness with whatever light it can find. For Bree, that light came in the form of a vision, a warning, a name. But the internet didn't see it that way. Rumors started spreading. Stories twisted. Voices got louder. And suddenly, a girl who wasn't even in the city at the time found herself at the center of a storm. Her name is Gabby. Before the hashtags, before the accusations, before the viral TikToks, Gabby was just a college student, away at school, trying to balance life, classes, and a friend group she trusted. But when Kada went missing, the world she thought she understood collapsed. To the internet, Gabby became a character, a rumor, a theory. But to her, this was real life. And real lives are never as simple as the stories people create online. So before we continue the story, before we decide what makes sense and what doesn't, we're going to listen to Gabby, not to defend her, not to condemn her, but to understand the moment she stepped into this story, whether she wanted to or not.
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I'm going to be discussing some of the misinformations that are going around in the internet regarding me and the Kada Scott situation. So if you are unaware, Kada Scott is a girl that went missing in Philadelphia on October 4th. So I did know Keon. He was my friend. I met him about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was also the local pharmacist. Now, me and my best friend, we were also mutual friends with Keon. He was our pharmacist. So one day Keon calls me, and keep in mind, I am in school, I am in Maryland, and he will usually just call me, just to check up and talk. So he calls me, and he asks me if I know Kada. And I'm like, yeah, I know Kada. And he's like, oh, yeah, I noticed that she lives really close to you. I'm like, yeah, she lived right in the back of me. And I'm not thinking nothing of it because he usually calls me and, we just be chatting. He'll call me about, the people that be around because he is the pharmacist. I live in the neighborhood and he be in my neighborhood. So we hang up the phone and that was that. We were only on the phone for 29 seconds. So you can see that this is the day that he called me and this was before Kada went missing. And we were only on the phone for 29 seconds. Also, I know that his name says Elliot in my phone. That's just what we call him. So a couple of days after that, my best friend calls me and, we're just talking about life. And I mentioned to her how Keon brought up Kada to me. I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm like, oh yeah, he was probably trying to flirt with her. He's probably trying to get at her. Mind you, me and my best friend, we know Kada because we grew up with her little sister. Now, we didn't know Kada personally because, again, we grew up with her little sister. We were around 12, 11 years old. Kada, she was much older than us, so we didn't really talk to her. So my best friend was like, oh yeah, he probably thought she was cute, and that was that. So right here is the day that I called my best friend and told her that, Keon was trying to get at Kada. This is before she went missing. So a couple days, maybe a week after that, it is reported on October 4th that Kada is missing. So keep in mind, I am in Maryland, so I'm not really into all the Philadelphia news that be going on. So I'm not knowing that Kada is missing until my best friend sends me a text and says that Kada is missing. So this is the day that my best friend tells me that Kada is missing on October 9th. So I'm in my friend's dorm and I call Keon and it's a lot of music and a lot going on in the background. So I go somewhere that's quiet and I tell him, Keon, Kada is missing, that girl, she's missing. So he was like, what? And then after that, the phone just hung up. So here you can see that I called Keon and we were on the phone for 2 minutes. So you have to keep in mind, this was my friend, okay? I did not think that he could be capable of anything like this. In my head, I'm just thinking, there's no way in the world he could have did something like this. There's no way in the world. So then a couple of days after that, my mom sends me a screenshot of Keon turning himself in for the kidnapping of Kada. So this is my mom sending me the article, and she was distraught to say the least. And I know she said that he was a random person, but she says this about all of my friends. So me and my best friend, we get on the phone and we're talking about the situation. We're just saying how this is just crazy. This is the call of me and her talking about it. Now, this is all happening around the time that I'm taking my midterms. So I'm really just trying to keep my head on the books. And I wasn't really trying to let this stress me out. So I kind of just let it go. You know, he turned himself in. It's not really much to say or do anymore. So a couple of days after that, me and my best friend get on the phone and we're basically just, talking about the Kada situation. And she says that she thinks that I should call the cops. So she was basically saying that she thinks that I should call the cops and tell them that Keon was, asking about Kada. Now, at the time in my head, I'm thinking that there was no reason to call the cops. He already turned himself in, and I felt like it would be kind of a waste of time to tell them that the guy that they already have in custody, called me and was asking about the girl. And me personally, I'm not a cop caller. Like I don't call the cops. That's just the way that I grew up. That's what I was around. They will always tell me, you don't call the cops. So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops. So then my best friend tells me, well, if you won't call the cops and tell them, then I will. And then she basically tells me that she doesn't want to be friends with me anymore because I won't call the cops. And I told her, that's completely fine. I just don't want any involvement. So then we hung up the phone, and then I believe she called me again with the police on the other line. So you can see, I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not talking to the cops. And yeah. Now, I can see how this could be cruel, and I do take accountability for that. So then, a couple of days later after that, I get sent a link on Instagram. And the link was basically my best friend going live, just talking about the situation, saying how I was weird for not going to the cops. And people in the comments were just coming up with their own narratives about the story. And it just got way out of hand and it just spiraled. So you can see somebody sent me the link of the live, and still to this day, I have not watched the full entire live. Then people just started asking, who is Gabby? What's the connection? And, she told people that I was in Maryland for school, and it was just a whole entire thing. So, of course, I was angry and I was confused because what is going on? So I text her, I tell her that, that was weird. And yeah. Then I started seeing posts of people saying that they think that I set Kada up and that why wouldn't I go to the cops and that I was just suspicious and all of this stuff. And this was never the case. So I do end up contacting the authorities after I seen people just making up crazy stuff about me and the situation. They cut me off. They tell me that they already know what's going on, that they have a close eye on the social media. And they also tell me that my friend did come forth with the information, and they told her that there was nothing that they can do, that the information that she bought them was useless information because they already had Keon in custody, and it was just nothing for them to do with this information. They told me to contact them only if I had anything that could lead to finding Kada because that is their main priority. Now, I do believe that the person in the live was just kind of taking what I told her and running with it and just spicing it up to make it seem like something that it wasn't for, I don't know, maybe views. People were saying that, she was walking around and showing what stores Kada would go to, where she would walk her dog, and just stuff like that. I also had one of our mutual friends come to me, and he told me that she told him that we knew Kada our whole lives and we grew up with her, which wasn't the case because we grew up with her little sister. Now, I do think that the person in the live was taking what I told them and kind of just running with it and spicing it up to make it seem like it was way bigger than what it was. And I basically think this because I had a mutual friend that came to me and said that she came to them and told them that we knew Kada our whole life and that we grew up with Kada when that wasn't the case. We grew up with her little sister. My prayers go out to Kada and her family, and I hope that she can make a safe return home.
When stories like this unfold online, it becomes easy to forget something important. Behind every rumor, every screenshot, every live video, there are real people. People trying to make sense of something that should have never happened in the first place. We have Bree, a grieving aunt, searching for answers in the only way she knows how. We have Gabby, caught in the middle of a storm she never prepared for, tried to explain her side while the world watched. We have a community, confused, angry, heartbroken, and at the center of all of it, we have Kada, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a human being whose story did not deserve to end this way. No matter how many angles we analyze, no matter how many conversations we have, we cannot change what happened. But what we can do is speak her name with love. We can honor her memory. We can push for truth, not speculation. And we can choose empathy, even when it's hard. Because pain like this shouldn't divide a community. It should bring it closer. Kada, you are remembered. You are loved. And your story matters. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you. Thank you for watching with your heart open. Thank you for caring. I'd love to hear your thoughts, respectfully, in the comments below. What do you feel after hearing all sides? What part of this story stayed with you the most? Your voice matters here. And if you'd like to see more true stories, told with care, compassion, and depth, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. It helps this story reach more people. And it helps us continue creating a space where real stories are told with respect. Take care of each other, and take care of yourselves.